don't know why, but I
No,
love
that's what the addiction was back then. I mean, it was that.
bologna and
Wait,
mustard. But
Illinois,
Illinois, not
Illinois, not Illinois with an S.
no,
And
no.
by the way, Illinois, I lived in Illinois for 5 years,
Woohoo!
and I worked for the company DeKalb,
Oh yeah.
corn company that detasseled the corn and everything. Decatur was a big DeKalb.
Oh yeah. Well, we have ADM and Staley's. We're both there. I mean, Decatur is and was, I don't know if it still is, but the soybean capital of the world.
Mm,
That's how we're known. ADM with Archer Daniels Midland, and that was the key summer job. If you could get the detasseling gig, that was
yes.
15 bucks an hour. That was like,
Oh, I know. I was rich. I mean, it was.
yes. And I'm saying yes to me. And I think that that's something that those are muscles people need to exercise because when you are aligned with who you came here to be,
Mhm.
it's either hell yes or it's hell no. And there is no try or what does Yoda say? Do or do not. There is no try or something.
Exactly.
But it's when you're aligned, you know instantly what to say yes to, and you know instantly what to say no to. I think that's something that's very powerful that's come to me. I've kind of always been that way, but you know, it was so hard for me to go, but I'm singing what I'm reading. I can't sing what you're playing.
Right.
And it was like somebody handing you like, we'd like you to read this passage. Oh, by the way, it's in Chinese, but we'd like you to read it. I had to translate, and that was the hardest thing for me. So anyway, I don't even know how I got on that tangent,
Well, I
but
think the important thing is that you learn Chinese. I mean,
well, yeah, I did not learn Chinese, but the singing. So when people are off key by it's a little bit like if I watch The Voice or American Idol, it's like I'm like shifting, like like come on. And who was it? One of the hosts used to say it's a little pitchy. I'm like a little.
welcome to the Dr. Smiley Show, and we have the famous Carpe Diem Beth Robins here to talk about what her journey's like and what she's doing in the world to have you seize the day with a smile. Welcome, Beth.
Thank you, Dr. Ken. It is my absolute pleasure to be here, and always keep smiling.
All right, I have a feeling I'm one shirt down on what's going to happen next. Are you going to show your?
Right.
Yeah, I tried to guess what you'd wear, and I wore pink to compliment, and here we are with the show the shirt again, please.
See,
So
see it.
yeah, whoever smiles first wins, and what's so important about that is whoever does win, you won the fact that you can make a difference in the world, and the second person who didn't win, who is probably the one wearing the shirt, is the one who caused it. So
Exactly, exactly. I wear it everywhere. It's my favorite plain shirt. When you're walking down the aisle and
oh,
I'm looking people in the eye, like, okay, who's gonna play? And it's really fun.
so big shout out to Carly Shaw. She's the one who embodied and also copyright wrote that expression, and I want to have ownership in it too. I mean, it's the perfect shirt for the Keep Smiling movement.
It's fabulous. That's my favorite shirt.
So you're up bright and early. You got your caffeine on.
I got my caffeine on. I just finished my caffeine on.
Gotcha.
And yeah, the sun's almost up here in Southern California.
Gotcha. Well, I am really a big proponent of how did one meet one, and I wouldn't have met you if it wasn't for Jim Britt.
That's right.
And Jim Britt is our 10th show, and what a remarkable storyteller. But he's got one of the biggest hearts a human could have as far as giving and not having it attached to anything he gets. He's definitely the karma man. I mean, he is.
Yes, he
So
is.
Ophir Adar and you almost the same week called me and said, I'd like to be on your podcast. And next thing we know, we're talking about potentially doing a book. And Ophir is launching his book while I'm in San Diego with you
That's right. Yes.
on my son's birthday. I mean, I said, Ophir, thank you for giving my son this gift and for celebrating Flag Day on the 4th.
Flag Day.
So your event this week that I'm flying out in 2 days. Tell me about that event.
So this event is Rock the Stage, Amplify a Mic, and it is a training sort of for young entrepreneurs who want to get onto speaking. Maybe they're an author or whatever it might even be just real estate. They just want to learn how to craft a speech and grab the audience in an authentic way. And so it's a training event for 3 days, but I'm there to talk about Carpe Diem and what that means for people.
And you're one of the three speakers, right?
Yeah, I'm one of three.
Yeah, meaning you are one of the experts on the
I,
stage teaching
I am
people.
the expert. Yes. I am the expert in Carpe Diem for sure.
You are, but you also don't need that much training or commanding an audience.
Well, I've been there, done that in my old life, and just sort of resurrecting, getting the pipes back in order, and realizing that my true carpe diem was getting back on stage because it's like I always say, it's like coming home. You know,
Right.
you get up there and it's like, this feels good. I like it up here.
Why?
I think that it's a way that I can connect with people in a very vulnerable way. Like here I am standing up before you. You're like checking out if my dress is wonky or my shoes don't match, and none of that matters because I'm gonna reach in and I'm gonna grab your heart, heart to heart. We're gonna have a connection. And whether I was doing a play or a musical, I was a different character. I wasn't Beth Robins. I was saying somebody else's lines or singing someone else's lyrics, but it was still, I always had this prayer before I went on stage that if what I say or sing can impact just one soul today, all of this prep and training was worth it. Exactly. So that goes back to when I was 15. I started doing that. It was like it was just a thing I would do in 30 seconds, and then boom, you're on stage. And then back in those days, I was somebody else. I was playing a role. But now I get to be Beth Robins and I get to speak from my heart, from my soul, and my experience, my life. And I get to share that with you. So it's home because I feel comfortable. I feel like I came into your living room and we're going to sit down with a cup of coffee and I'm going to pull some things out of you. I might make you feel uncomfortable, but at the end of the experience, you're going to feel amazing. You're going to feel empowered and inspired. And really, the inspiration is to find out who you are, what makes you come alive.
Well, I will say this: when you are on stage, you actually pull the people in. I don't see people taking notes. I see them really watching. But I want to say, when we had the Jim Britt conversation,
Yes.
do you ever do this where you say, if I hear this word, I know I'm supposed to do this, or it's a word that is supposed to tag an action? Do you ever do that?
I haven't, but I have a friend who says if I hear it 3 times, like a thought, if this thought comes to me 3 times, it means I'm supposed to take action.
So I have two words that if I hear them, I have to dig deeper as to why I heard them. And then I have two of my favorite words, which are amplify and impact. So if people are doing events that are amplified, because that's my license plate, but it's also my
Yeah.
related 600 events. And then impact obviously is behind me because impact means you're moving a message or you're moving the world. I mean, there's something happening there. And too many people are so focused on content, they're not looking at impact or distribution. But
Hmm.
the words that I cued me the day that we had our conversation about you just being on my podcast was play big.
Play big. Yeah.
And either to someone's detriment that they're going to have to answer to those two words, or to their surprise that those two words would cause really a catapult experience.
Yeah.
I stopped for a second. I said, can we have another conversation? Because this is about the podcast. I don't want to confuse this about it being about you playing big and us having a strategy call or something like that. So we had a second call.
Yeah.
And I want to commend you because you have done nothing but play big. And I would like to show a couple photos, but go ahead. Go ahead. What were you gonna
Oh,
say?
I was gonna say, you know what? When you say the words, I want to play big, okay, you just put it out there. So you you gotta pony up. You gotta put some action behind them words.
Yes.
So that's what
And
we're doing.
and I have seen people that say it, but they don't do it. And that's why I've noticed that it's play big, and the tonality of the voice has a conviction, and it has a purpose driven aspect to it. Like there's not a choice.
Right.
And so that's an interesting study that I'd seen in your voice versus other people that may not always do it. So I wanted to take a second to show some photos of you playing big. So that is what I call having a stage and having people like really into it. And so this is just a couple of photos of And by the way, a big shout out to Manny Lopez. He not only is a great person that helps people play big, but he does great events. That's the back of his head. What a nice haircut he has in the back of his head, by
Yes, he does have a nice haircut.
the way. And just want to say that he was very proud of your presentation. That's for sure. So that is just a little. And by the way, Manny is all about not just having people like you inspire the audience. He's really about the underdog achieving.
Absolutely. I think those are the heart center people that I think you and I both connect to, is people that remember where they started,
Right.
and and that somebody had to reach out and help them. And that's what they're in turn doing with their lives, is reaching out and helping other people.
So I think there's probably an audience inquiry here, like, okay, you're giving us this person that's playing big. I know her name is Beth Robins. Okay, we get that. But where was she born? I mean, what was she like when she was a child? So while I add Dr. Smiley to my name here, you go ahead and tell people where you were born in your childhood.
Well, I was born in Lincoln, Illinois, a little small town. When I was two, we moved to Decatur, Illinois. And right before that, my grandfather had been mayor for a number of years of Decatur, Illinois. And so the last name was Groney, Grohne. It was hard to pronounce. So you always knew when a telemarketer called if they asked for Mrs. Groan. So we're like, no, it's Groney. And I was the
You can't,
youngest
Beth,
by
you can't give them that hint because then they correct it so they're not the telemarketer next time.
Oh, that's true. That's true. But then you're like, oh, well, she's not here. But yeah, so I was the youngest by a lot. I might have been that, oops, guess what? We're pregnant. I don't know. But I had such an imaginary lifestyle as a kid that it was so imaginative that I remember back when I was three. I don't know. I don't know the science of how brains are wired, if that's a phenomena, or if it was just I remember vividly the way I played. I remember vividly my imaginary friend Eddie. I wrote about him in my book, and how my mom she literally ran our house with the energy of imagination. Like we used it for problem solving. We used it to be just creative, to be that creative kid who made up games, and all my friends, we all did that. We just made up games. We'd leave the house in the morning and in the summer, and we'd come back and grab a bologna sandwich, and we'd be back at it. And then, we'd be home before dark. Maybe we'd eat dinner. I don't know. We'd eat at somebody's
That
house.
that bologna sandwich, I mean, it was white bread and the American cheese, the Kraft
Oh,
cheese.
no cheese. No, I used mustard. I don't know why, but I
No,
love
that's what the addiction was back then. I mean, it was that.
bologna and
Wait,
mustard. But
Illinois,
Illinois, not
Illinois, not Illinois with an S.
no,
And
no.
by the way, Illinois, I lived in Illinois for 5 years,
Woohoo.
and I worked for the company DeKalb,
Oh yeah.
corn company that detasseled the corn and everything. Decatur was a big DeKalb.
Oh yeah. Well, we have ADM and Staley's. We're both there. I mean, Decatur is and was, I don't know if it still is, but the soybean capital of the world.
Mm,
That's how we're known. ADM with Archer Daniels Midland, and that was the key summer job. If you could get the detasseling gig, that was
yes.
15 bucks an hour. That was like,
Oh, oh, I know. I was rich. I mean, it was.
yeah,
And for those in the audience that don't know the detasseling, that is a human thing that is hard for AI to replace.
that's true. That's true. I'm sure
If
there's
you
a
don't,
machine now. I don't know.
I don't know if there is. They said how why there's not a machine is that you can't destroy the corn at that very, I guess, uh, very important time when the stalk is going up. That you have to get it out at that time. And
Right.
yeah, it was grueling work. I mean, you're constantly removing. And by the way, when it wasn't detasseling corn, it was de-weeding the bean fields. That was always fun.
Yeah, I never did that one. No. I went into the lifeguarding and singing. That was like, yeah, this is better.
Well, I did go into lifeguarding, but not singing. So I guess detasseling really has a good career path.
Oh, it's amazing. I highly recommend it. If you're really looking at that trajectory, start off with the manual labor detasseling corn for sure.
Well, I'll say anyone that works on a farm in the Midwest, typically they are a sure shot of being a good person.
Absolutely. There is something about Midwestern values that you just can't replicate. I don't know. I can spot somebody right away. Like I meet them, it doesn't matter what state or country I'm in, I can tell, oh, you came from the Midwest. You
Yeah,
know?
and their average comment is something to the effect of, "Yeah, I know what it is to put a hard day's work in, and also there's no doors locked."
Yeah. Oh no. There's always another seat at the table.
Yes, always know see the table. All right, so from the major career move of detasseling to lifeguarding,
Yeah.
why lifeguarding?
Well, because I was really good at twirling a whistle.
Uh-huh.
I had that art down. I could go do, and then I could reverse it. And
Okay.
in the process, I could kill little sweat bees that like to swarm around me. And then my friend and I, we'd lifeguard, we'd count how many of them we had at the bottom of our chair. But I loved being outside. I taught swimming, I taught tennis, and that was like the perfect thing. My sister did it, and so I was like, I'll do it because it was good money, and I get to be outside. I got to,
I'm
work.
getting an I'm getting an equation I've just never really thought. So I'm always looking at why things happen and trying to formulate what are the variables. And I think I figured it out for you.
What's
And
that?
I mean, this is seriously happening right now. So detasseling, this movement, detasseling, this winging, okay,
Yep.
and then the tennis, pickleball.
Pickleball.
It
Oh man.
makes sense now. It makes sense why you're a champion pickleballer.
Yeah, that didn't come on till later in
No,
life.
but the fact that you had all that training in your
Oh,
youth.
training for sure. Absolutely. I think about that now. Now I'm going to get on the court and go, oh yeah, this is the Texel spin move. I'm
Yeah,
gonna.
yeah, it's a Karate Kid type of movie coming out in the future. Like
Well, I also did karate, so I could throw that in too.
awesome. Well, we don't want to get to pickleball too soon because
Okay.
that's your current life. But I do want to say I'm seeing how Steve Jobs connecting the dots in the back is happening.
You stole my line.
Oh, audience, pretend like you didn't hear that. I do not want that line stolen.
No, no, you gotta come hear me speak to hear that line.
It is one of the most powerful lines. And
Yep.
and so while we're there, why don't you use that line? Tell in the speech that you give on stage how your dots connected and why you use that line.
Well, you can't really see, you have to look backward to connect the dots of how you got to where you are. And I look back now, like I'm in a different phase of my life, the most creative I've ever been, or I think ever allowed. And I look back and, you brought up our friend Jim Britt, and I met him in the most random, beautiful way and in a completely different industry. And it was meeting Jim, which was so fun because I thought he was this shy man who didn't know anybody, and I had a seat next to me, and I invited this poor guy standing in the back, "Hey, I've got a seat. It's in the front row. Like, come up here. This is where the millionaires hang out. All the millionaires sit in the front row, right?
Right.
So, or wannabes."
Yeah.
And oh, he's like, "Oh, okay." And so he sat with me, and he was quiet, and we hung out at lunch, and then after lunch, they're introducing the big keynote speaker, and I'm like, "Wow, this guy sounds amazing." And can't wait to meet him. And then they're like, everybody put your hands together for Mr. Jim Britt. And I'm like, Jim Britt, where's Jim Britt? And he nudges me. He has a cap on. He says, hey, would you wear this? Well, I got to go do this thing. I went, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. You're Jim Britt, right? So anyway, we just had this beautiful, authentic friendship from the first minute. Another guy, we should could say he's from the Midwest, but I mean, is it Oklahoma?
Yeah.
Um, So it was meeting Jim Britt in this most random way that the next day after the conference, he invited me. He's like, I'm doing this book project, and I would love for you to be one of the authors. And
Wow.
I was like, instantly, and this is when I started making decisions within 60 seconds. I
Hmm.
knew that was the right thing for me to do. Now, I've never been an author before, but I love to write.
Right.
And I said yes right away. Well, that series has turned into what, 17 volumes now?
Yep. I'm in
You're
14.
in you're
14.
in 14?
You're in one.
I'm number one. And it's like, so I met you because of me inviting Jim Britt to sit next to me. So I'm going to connect the dots back to that date because I find that that date on is what's everything is impacting and compounding in my life to have these opportunities before me now. So it was that day. I go back to that day, and I
That
will
is that's beautiful, and it is random. But I want to have a tangent here for a second because you and I have had we've broken bread before and had this conversation, and it was about who is the person that just does the good all the time with no one watching.
that's yeah.
And that's Jim, and that's you because you saw a man standing in the back, and you said, "Come on up," and he said, "I don't need to tell you who I am. Here,
No,
I'm here. I'm here." And
he might have said I mean, I think I knew he was Jim and I was Beth, or maybe it was
yeah,
the other way around. But that was it, no last names and just, what do you do? I live in Grass Valley and, I kind
yeah.
of just hang out. It's like, okay.
No, I love those experiences where you were just good to someone. They know there's no way that you know who they are, and
Yeah,
the reward is they say, "Here's my cell number," or "Let me know what I
yeah,
can do for you," and they can shift your world.
absolutely. Yeah.
And the antithesis audience is that when you need to see the Rolex or you need to see something there as a sign that the person's worth it, they actually may be the antithesis of what you're looking for, which is, I would just have to say, a transactional mentality. Show,
Yeah.
show me
I
what you
had
got.
something similar happen when I met Dr. Wayne Dyer. That just came to me when you said, he's famous. People always say, I'll believe it when I see it. His quote was, I'll see it when I believe it.
Yeah,
Yeah. Wow.
yeah, that's massive, and a love for humanity causes miracles to happen in that you might meet somebody that literally won't be the one, but they know the one,
Yes.
and that's the coolest part. Is they say, I mean, it's those old books, the children's books where the person was nice to somebody, and next thing they know, they're being invited to the queen or king's dinner, and they're considered a very important person in the community. So I love that you see that in people, but more importantly, I'm very grateful that I get to go on a ride at times to see the events where you're causing people to really think that way.
Yeah. It's a fun, exciting experience that I am so glad I said yes to.
Indeed, indeed. So, tell me, we're talking about how Beth became Beth, and the reason I spend so much time on this is because people have choices during those dots, and even not dots. They just see something as bad, and they go, "Okay, I guess it's not supposed to be for me," and they don't persevere what the lesson was supposed to be. So, my hypothesis, which is yet to be proven wrong, maybe at some point it'll be called a law, is the more you love who you are, the more you will become who you love.
Ooh, I love that.
So, with that said, you have become a person. Well, you've always loved yourself on some level to continue to work on yourself, but you are becoming a person that I see almost couldn't be happier with who you're creating yourself to be.
Yes. I think when you step into your authentic self, I don't have the quote before me. Gary Zukav wrote that it was kind of like when your unique personality aligns with your authentic self or with who you were meant to be, that's when you become. And I think that's what I am saying yes to is,
Mm-hmm.
I've always known who I was. I've never lacked confidence in that area, but there's always those moments where yes, you have those T's in the road. Do I hang out with this crowd or do I hang out with this crowd? Or you have a choice in your life that you really want to be an artist or a writer or something more on the creative side, and your parents are saying, but we need you to pay the bills. So maybe lawyer, doctor, something that's plumber, whatever is like a guaranteed gig for you. And so you bow down to what you really inside want to be, and you go that route, and you're successful because you're a successful person and you've embraced it. But there comes that moment in your life where you just have this ick, this calling that's like, I left that dream aside. I put it away. And I love my life. I'm doing the thing, and I've made it work and I'm happy, but there's a part of me that's not feeling fulfilled. And that's where my journey led me to today. I've done some stuff and I've had some fun. Um, but there was something missing. I just had that ick. I had this burning desire, like, what's missing here? I tried to retire and then I was like, nope, that didn't work for me because there's more for me to do. And I think I haven't proven this into law yet, but I'm gonna bet that 99.999% of the people have a bit of that in them where they feel the parade pass them by,
Hmm.
uh, and that it's too late. And I am living proof that it is never too late. Just say yes and answer your calling.
You bringing up a very tricky conversation here because,
I like tricky.
yeah, this is tricky because, super successful people say you need to practice saying no. And they say, I say no, and they brag. I say no, no 9 out of 10 times, or even as high as 99 times out of 100. Like the bigger the investment, I guess, capital, the more you'd want to say no because you have that big goose egg you want to give to somebody. But on the other side of the coin, if if Jim hadn't said yes to sit next to you, there may not have been a bond. When I called him and said, I love what you're doing with your books, the series is called Crack the Code for Riches, right?
No, cracking the rich code.
Okay. I knew I was being dyslexic in my verbal. Okay. Cracking the Rich Code. I called him and I think it was either book 12 or 13, and I wasn't in any of them. And I said, I really love what you're doing with this. And it speaks to what I want to be doing for you, amplifying the goodness of these messages. I would love to show you off in Times Square. And he goes, okay. Now we had known each other 5 years at a very, very passive level. Like we saw each other at events, but he said yes. And he said yes because he allowed me to be powerful for him.
Wow.
And that caused me to be in a mastermind where I got to play big with you. And I love the fact you say yes, but the distinction is, who are you saying yes to? That's really the key.
Yes. And I'm saying yes to me. And I think that that's something that those are muscles people need to exercise because when you are aligned with who you came here to be,
Mm-hmm.
it's either hell yes or it's hell no. And
Right.
there is no um try or what does Yoda say? Do or do not. There is no try or something.
Exactly.
But it's when you're aligned, you know instantly what to say yes to, and you know instantly what to say no to. I think that's something that's very powerful that's come to me. I've kind of always been that way, but you know, there's things that I've said yes to that I regret a little bit, but I think that in all things there is a lesson. And so if you can take it back and say, okay, I said yes to that thing, it wasn't all that, but I learned something. So I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, but the other part of it is I said yes to this one thing that I wish I didn't, or I have some regrets. No, no, not regrets, but that was not the yes I should have done. Okay. Because there is no regret if you actually look at the opportunity. But my point is, there were 9 yeses or 100 yeses you did say the right way. And those would have been penalized if you had moved to no's. There's tons of wiped out. And so I think when you talk about believing in people and you say yes, you're causing them to feel believed in, that they actually show up that way.
Yes. Yeah.
And I love that distinction.
Yeah.
All right. So where are we going with the development and the on pouring of how Beth became Beth?
Well, let's see. I've gotten through my lifeguard days.
Yeah.
Oh, I had a calling since I was 12 to be a professional singer, dancer, actress. Before 12, it was to be a cowboy. So I really, oh, and I also wanted to be a professional ice skater. And I remember the conversation. My mom had to take me aside, and I think she used the financial side of it. Like we just can't afford to have a professional coach get you to that Olympic level. And what she really meant to say is you really suck as a skater. But she said it in a loving way. So but the singing thing that was starting to go, and to have professional voice lessons at the age of 13, that's my parents who dug deep for that. So I think my dad was a singer, um, and he and I were the only ones that had the voice in the family, and so they believed in me, and I don't know if it was because I was the third child and it was kind of more permissive or whatever, but they let me go all in on that. And right away starting doing plays and musicals and took that all the way. I went to university, got my BFA in musical theater, which, it was a liberal arts college, and it was, you're doing the science, the math, the English, the history, you're doing all of that. Oh, and by the way, you have voice, you have music theory, music composition, you have dance, and you have intense acting. So essentially, your behind is in a classroom from 7:30 in the morning until 5:30 at night. Oh, and then you're in the shows. So now you are at rehearsal, or you're upside down hanging lights, and you're doing all aspects of musical theater. But the cool thing about that is I came out with a great education and a connection to Broadway. And it was a small school in central Illinois, Illinois Wesleyan University, but it was connected.
Hmm.
And it was very rigorous. They would have a sophomore review. I think there were 40 of us, or maybe even more, 60 in our incoming freshman class of musical theater students. And sophomore year, you have that review where they're like, maybe costuming or maybe directing, or um, you're really good at hanging those lights. Maybe you should take your theater career that direction. Or, the music part of your musical theater thing isn't working out, so maybe just theater or whatever. And you got moved around or cut or whatever, and then you proceed on. And graduation day, there were 7 of us that persevered. So that was amazing. And, New York, Chicago, mostly Chicago because I got married right after college, and it's really hard to be married and heading off. Bye, going to be in New York for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks. And I was also doing casting with Royal Viking Cruise Line, so that was super fun, and assistant choreographer for that, and Six Flags, and
Really?
it, yeah, doing all that kind of fun stuff. And so I was living my dream 100%, simultaneously being a young wife. And so then that turned into being kind of a youngish mom. And so then it was like, eek, this showbiz thing, you head to the theater at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and you're doing all the warm-ups and the prep, and then the show is on at 8, show finishes at 10, 10:30. Then you got to take all the makeup off and get all your clothes put away. And your adrenaline is up here, right? And then you go home and it's like midnight and it's like, oh, I can't sleep. And the baby gets up at 4. And it's like, this is not working out. So thankfully, on the side, I had a side hustle as a group fitness instructor and personal training. And so when it was time to hang up the tap shoes, I slid into the sneakers and became a gym rat and love that. So because then I'm Group X, I'm up on stage.
Mhm.
It's my show. I'm directing the next hour or 90 minutes of your life in this workout. I'm not singing, but we're definitely moving our bodies to the beat. So I kind of hung on to it. Um, and that was kind of, kept my juices going. I think if I didn't have that, I think there would have been a lot more misery in my heart.
When was this?
So that was in my um, late 20s all the way to um, mid 40s, late 40s.
That was Chicago?
That was Chicago area. So back and forth. Before that, it was New York, Chicago,
That's
um, and Las Vegas for a minute. So yeah, and I feel like, I used to say when I got married young, people were like, oh, you're so young. It's like I felt like when I was 22, I felt 42 because I had gotten into professional theater so young that I lived a lot of life. I learned about stuff young.
hmm
Uh, I learned about how to become an adult, a responsible adult. I'm doing my homework in the green room, backstage, on the floor, whatever. I learned to get stuff done. My Saturdays, I was in dance class all day. So I did play softball, so I got into some sports. My parents did try to have some balance, um, with my summers, but I was from 12 to 13 on, I was focused on this career for sure. So my childhood was different. It was blessed. I'm so grateful to my parents for allowing that, because that was definitely the building blocks of becoming, of learning to get things done and still play big. We're not going to just go do, the local regional theater, which is great. I love it. I think it's a great building ground. But I'm like, no, I'm going for it all the way. So.
What was your favorite part dash play to be in?
Oh, always Sandy in Greece.
I believe it.
Because I
That's
got to smoke a cigarette.
yeah. That
Oh,
was
and my other favorite, speaking of smoking cigarettes, was Crimes of the Heart that I did. What was my character? Glenn Close, I think, played it in the movie version.
Fatal Attraction.
No, it's called I just said it. Crimes of the Heart is a
I'm sorry.
play by Beth Henley, I think. Um, and every night, I think I smoked a half a pack of cigarettes and I ate one bite out of every chocolate that was in a chocolate box.
Uh-huh.
Smoking cigarettes is not good because I was very classically trained. I went on into opera
Yeah.
when I was also in Chicago, so that was like, but it was cool. Here I am, and I always had wigs, and this is so funny because I started growing my hair in high school, I think, because I wanted to have versatile hair for shows. Well, every show I was ever in, I think always I had a wig. So finally, when I was a sophomore in college, I just cut my hair and I wore it really short because stuffing all this hair up into a wig cap was, oh my gosh, it was a chore.
No, I had the same problem. Believe me.
So I had short hair up until 10 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was just because it felt better in a wig cap. And then when I switched careers, it was better in a baseball cap, as Coach Beth. So yeah.
So,
Anyway,
well, I was going to ask you. I'm compelled to say the words "The Greatest Showman."
yeah, that's a great show.
Yeah,
He did a great job in that musical.
everyone did.
Yeah, I did not like him in Les Miserables. Now, Les Miserables was another fave of mine. And that's the only movie that I've ever gotten up and walked out and not come back in.
Wow.
It was painful for me to watch Russell Crowe try to sing, and it really broke my heart because I know so many amazing musical theater actors and actresses that have done Les Miserables 8 shows a week for years, have
Hmm.
mastered those roles, and vocally you can't beat them. And then you're like, but we want to put butts in the seat in the movie theater. So we're going to grab these famous celebrities and
Right.
throw them in these musicals. And it was like, oh my gosh, I just hated that. And it made me sad.
I relate. I buy movies and I see the cast and I said this is going to be a great movie, and that was a very very hard one. I don't recall if I got through it either.
Yeah, it was, yeah. And my dad had perfect pitch and I had something called relative pitch, meaning that, and I haven't done it in so long, I don't know if I could do it, but if I see the note on the page, I will sing that note.
Hmm.
I sing what I see.
Hmm.
So I did hundreds, if not 1,000, weddings, funerals, that I would be the hired singer. It was a great gig. And people would hand me the sheet music I'd memorize it or I'd at least have it down so I could look at it and sing what I'm reading. It's like to me like singing a book or reading a book. Um, and then the organist or the whatever would then have, oh, she's like, her stuff is in a different key. It was so hard for me to go, but I'm singing what I'm reading. I can't sing what you're playing.
Right.
And it was like somebody handing you, like, we'd like you to read this passage. Oh, by the way, it's in Chinese, but we'd like you to read it. I had to translate, and that was the hardest thing for me. So, anyway, I don't even know how I got on that tangent,
Well, I
but
think the important thing is that you learn Chinese. I mean,
well,
let
yeah, I did not learn Chinese, but the singing. So when people are off key by it's a little bit like if I watch The Voice or American Idol, it's like I'm like shifting, like like, come on. And who was it? One of the hosts used to say, it's a little pitchy. I'm like, a little? Like, it's about to break glass in my house. So,
That was one of the most nervous questions you asked me, because I said I would love to publish your books, especially your first book, because it was about your mom. And I was so glad when you said I'm not going to ask you if you can sing, because I was thinking that could be.
yeah, no, I wasn't going to ask you if you could sing.
Well, I love music, and I have proof of it. I was a DJ for 4 decades, so if you and I have a love for music for sure. And people would come up to me and say, "Do you play music?" And I go, "Do you see I'm DJing? I mean, that's what I do."
Yeah, I play other people's music, right?
Exactly, exactly. All right, so your mom was dedicated. That was your first book. That was the book that opened the doors for you being an author.
It did, and it came out about in another one of those connect the dots sort of ways. Um, I don't know what other authors' processes are, but that book came from a speech that I did as a homework assignment with Les Brown. And I remember sitting in a parking lot and I was in a wet bathing suit. I just come from the cold plunge, and he's like, "Hey, you got a minute?" It's kind of like when you call, "You got a minute?" Sure, I got a minute. So he's like, "Okay, so I want to talk about your signature talk, what you're gonna do." And I said, "Okay." And he says, "Tell me about your mom." And I was like, "My mom? Okay." So I pulled that out and he said, "Well, just give me six adjectives that describe your mom." So I did. And he says, "Okay." He goes, "Can I give this a whirl?" And I was like, "Okay." And for 10 minutes, he did a speech on my mom. I was brought to tears. It was goosebumpy. And he's like, she's hanging out with my mom, Mamie Brown. They're swapping, recipes and all this stuff. And I was like, he goes, "Now that's what I want you to do. And I want you to come up with 6, 7, 8, 10 words. And I want you to craft a speech about your mom.
Hmm.
And I want you to record it. And I want you to have it to me by Monday morning. And this is a Wednesday. It is not just any Wednesday, it's the Wednesday of 4th of July weekend. Cancel your plans, Beth, because you're going to spend the weekend with your mom. She passed 6 years ago. So it was the spirit of my mom in my kitchen and typing away. And Sunday night, I recorded it for Les. And he called me Monday, and I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to get, feedback, change this, move this over here. And he's like, "I sent it off to my team. We're putting it to music. And where have you been for the last 40 years?" And I was like, "Wait, what?" And he said that was it. That was the speech. And then a few days later, somebody said, "Hey, do you have an ebook?" And I was like, "Of course I have an ebook." "No, I don't have an ebook, but I took my speech and it became the book." And I spent another long weekend with my mom. And it was so beautiful. So much came out. And all I kept hearing was Les saying, "Just think of these words, the stories will come." And he was true, 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 true. And that book then became such a labor of love, a way for me to talk about my mom and my life and my childhood, and what I saw as a kid and what I saw as an adult about my mom, and the life lessons that I learned that are the life lessons I now see that I am giving others.
That was
So,
that was so important, because in our first talk, when I heard that, I shared with you how important my mom was, and she caused my
right.
first book, and so we have that in common. The difference is I'd been talking about my book for 25 years, and it was just a book. It wasn't a tribute to her, but every book became a tribute to her because of that.
Yeah.
I want to show the audience not just the book, but what the book cost, because you took me to Jim Lute's mastermind, and had you not had the book, there was really no reason for me to be there.
Right.
So you had gotten the book, if I recall, days or a week before,
Yes.
not too much time. So this will bring back a few memories.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that was the first time we met, actually. And these are the amazing people, and that's the book, obviously. But this is a bond that everyone had with you.
Yeah.
And there's Jim, and a big shout out and thank you to him, because he brought really amazing people together. He is the artist of bringing the right tribe together.
Yes, he is. And there is an art to that.
Yes, there is, and he's very strategic with it, but he's also he's relentless with it. He will not. He takes 45 to 60 days to craft that type of crowd. And this is our good friend David.
Yes.
And just so many great speakers, so many great. Look at you
There.
sporting the book, and tell us about not just the book, but you have a website. Obviously, people can get it, or is that only Amazon?
Right now it's just on Amazon. It will be on the website soon.
Okay, so that's a lot of people. You know
Yeah.
what? I didn't want to cut that short and not have every single spot because every person there deserved to be standing next to you. Deserved. And by the way, big congratulations. You got how important it is to give the gift of a book to these people because every one of them was so touched. And I saw how much you meant to them and your presentation, they were all into. So
Thank you. Yeah, that was a wonderful um that was a wonderful a couple of days for sure.
we have to get more smile shots of you. I've been to 3 or 4 events, and with the 300 different books, I'd like you in different outfits, not just here when whoever smiles first wins.
Right? I know. I probably should get some more shirts.
Well, I'll see you at an event in San Diego, and you can talk about that because anyone in San Diego that hears the show live and you'd like to meet Beth, not only can you meet her, get a photo with her, you can get her books or not, but she's someone you want to meet. So tell people where they can meet you for the Amplify.
So Amplify is going to be held at the Lionsgate place in Carlsbad, California. It is on, can I give the dates?
Oh, please do.
Thursday, June 12th through the 14th. And I will be speaking on Thursday, the 12th. Um, and I'm really, that one is about just a teaser. What does Carpe Diem mean to you personally? And how do you harness the power of that for yourself, for your success, for your own trajectory? And then on Saturday, I will be giving a keynote address on that topic and going deep on fear paradigms and all the things that derail us in our growth. That maybe we never realize. These self-limiting beliefs, these patterns where you get into. So many people get to just the edge of going to that next level. And they get there and it gets really scary. And it gets scary, and that scary feeling is familiar. Oh, the last time I got here, everything crumbled, everything blew up, everything fell apart. So I'm not going to take that next step, but I'm not going to say that out loud. This is just what I'm going to think. So I'm going to do things that self-sabotage it. I'm going to give up. And the whole purpose of my talk, of my brand, of my book is take that next step, because that dream that's in your heart, that whole idea to even do this in the first place, that was a gift. And I said this recently. It's source just smiled on you. They smiled on you, and they put it in your heart. They put it in your head. You should go do this thing, and don't let that go to waste.
While,
Seize.
while you're talking, seize the day. While you're talking, I want to show the cover. Go ahead.
Yeah, seize the day. Seize the day with a smile. A smile that indicates that every morning you wake up, you have a choice and a chance to do your life, to create an impact, to create an impact for yourself and an impact for all the people you're going to touch that day. Your barista at the coffee shop, or the guy who holds the door for you, open for you, or whatever that is. You have a choice, and that choice comes out in your smile. Choosing to seize the day with your smile, that's where it starts from, because that smile comes from deep in your soul. And a lot of people smile with their eyes, so it doesn't have to be this big teethy grin, although that feels fun and you work out a lot of muscles doing that. But smile with your eyes, that's listening intently to people, to really like look somebody in the eye and understand that they are a spiritual being just like you. We're all having human experiences, and step away from judging, and lean into a conscious curiosity about who that person is, what happened to them in their past that got them to today, and how am I going to impact them to change the trajectory for the rest of their days.
What I
That's
love,
easy.
yes, it is, but it's seize the day with a smile, and I want to say that if you separate the two, they don't work as well. Um,
Yeah.
seize the day has this implication in my background of go through,
Mm.
take charge, and no prisoners, and it's got that feel. I mean, the 300 Spartans, etc. And what I loved about your message was that you were about the positive energy, you were about the love, you were about the smile and the friendliness with which you can seize the day to make a positive difference.
Yeah, it is. It is about love, 100%. And that comes from your soul. It comes from your heart. That's how we're all connected. We're all spiritual beings having this human experience, and we're all connected energetically to each other, to source, God, whatever you want to call it, we are connected to something higher, something that is actually breathing us. And that power is so strong and way more powerful than any shit you might be sitting in, any circumstance, condition, or all your reasons, your excuses why you're not taking that next step. That's what Seize the Day with a Smile is.
Yeah, and I mean, just breaking that up again, the season day I already did what it is, the force, but the smile is enjoying the journey, but not necessarily creating abundance and not in creating impact. It's just enjoying life. And
Enjoying.
you put the two together and you're getting the abundance and the feeling that you're supposed to have when you have it. Because there are a lot of people that seize the day that are unhappy and they do it in an unhappy way. So when you were putting the title together and agreeable to how much that title would mean, because remember we said carpe diem and how many people knew that, and then we
Yeah.
the day below, because carpe diem is a Latin word that we don't use all the time, but those that are, I'll just say, living a more purposeful life maybe come in the context of what carpe diem is. And would you show? I don't have that to show. You can show it if you want.
The tattoo.
Yes.
Yes, I'm not a big tattoo person, but it just came out of me, and I have this warrior feather, and I have a whole connection with that, and this came about when my mom was nearing the end of her life, and I just knew I was going to get this tattoo, and I don't know what the inspired action. It was maybe 2 weeks after my mom passed that I was in there going, I want to get this little warrior feather. That's what I went in to get, this little tiny feather. And the artist is like, and I'm telling him my life story. I don't know why. I just felt like it had to come out of me. And he says, well, let me draw something and then I'll be back. So I'm outside, I'm on the phone with my daughter, and I'm saying, well, Mama Bear's getting a tattoo in honor of Grammy. And she's like, do you remember Grammy saying no tattoos? Like, I don't remember that. Oh, well, it's too late. And then the artist came out and he had drawn this feather and he wrote Carpe Diem above it. And I looked at it with this look on my face and he goes, that means seize the day. I just heard this word and I don't know, there was something about you. I felt like that belonged on the top of the feather. And it was going to be a tiny feather. Well, it turned out to be a bigger feather. And I was just speechless. And he goes, you've never heard what carpe diem means? And I'm like, oh, I'm fully aware of what carpe diem means. Do it now. I don't, I was blown away. I've never seen this man again. The tattoo shop closed, but I've always wanted to go in and say, look what you started. That was 6 years ago that happened. Connect the dots backward. That happened for a reason. I did not tell him carpe diem.
Let's make it a manifestation that will get this show out to enough people that we find him.
Yes, wouldn't that be cool? Oh, I would love
I think
that.
that's the most magical thing is that someone finds out later what a difference they made in someone else's life. I think it's one of the most beautiful things. I'm glad he didn't do tattoo seize the feather.
Yeah, that would be weird.
Um, I want to show people that you've expanded this into an opportunity for people to play. Those of you that are already seizing the day, you're doing great things in the world, but you may not have your story out there. You may not have the distribution, the marketing that would help you really enjoy that purpose driven life. I want to show the book that you are still developing right now.
Yeah.
And there, let's see. So this is the I guess the people that are around the clock, and it says seize the day at the bottom. So you are looking for people that's their MO, right?
That's their mantra. That's MO. Yeah. It doesn't have to be your mantra, but it needs to be something in you that that that's one of your purposes or your main purpose is to seize the day with a smile. And how do you do that? What does that mean for you? How are you living that? And how could you best tell your story in a way that impacts others in your own ripple effect? And you're looking at those authors, look at all those ripples, all the different impacts, their own idea of what that means for them.
Not
And
just, and not just that, Beth, but you have people like Les Brown and Jim Cathcart that are like this, and Jim Britt. They're like this with you. They take your
yeah,
call daily, and you would be in a book where you get to say, "I'm in a book with those giants." And I think the best part of it is all the friends that meet the filter of Seize the Day. There's not
yeah,
one person in that book that will say, "Yeah, I'm not exactly sure I'm going to say yes to that." Like they
right.
look at why they would say no more than what.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah, that's a yes. In my coaching, I always say it's a yes and or this and, or yes and something even greater still. There's always bigger and better to do with that.
And I wish I had, all the covers, but your amazing illustrator is working on.
Oh my gosh, Sam Welty, give him some
Yes.
props. Oh my
Yes.
God.
Well, since Sam's going to hear this, first of all, when you have a special client, you need to have a special team work with that special client. Otherwise, not only the client doesn't feel special, but you're also not giving the talent that is needed to make the projects or the books or the whole system work. And I will just say that I had some serious challenges. I really did. And because Seize the Day, that type of illustrator, I thought of that book that I shared with you. What do you do with an idea? And what do you do with a problem? And I wanted that level because Seize the Day is such a big message. And
Yes.
I was wondering if I was going to find that person, but it is that thing like, what are you doing next to find that person? And Chris Noggle, out of happenstance, just like you with Jim Britt, happenstance, is told to be on my show because he's launching a children's book because his team is going to be in an event that actually got canceled. So
Oh,
this whole thing is like wacky. And I had been minimally 2 weeks looking for the right illustrator, going on sites I don't want to really participate in, like from your Etsy's to Fiverr, because that's not where I want to find an artist at this level. So Chris shares his book, and I am just leaning in, like, God, this is beautiful. And I said, after the show, I said, can you please connect me? And so he did. And he was in a mix of about five, and he just stood out as that's the one. Like that.
yeah. We talk about coincidences. There's no such thing. All of that happened for a reason. And
Right.
I'm so blessed that you persevered for me and championed this cause because it's a big story that needs to be told. And I've said this on a few videos that I wake up so excited to write these books for this children's series. It's so life-giving to me. And if you would have asked me 4 months ago, oh, would you want to be a children's author? Or, oh, did you know you're going to be a children? I would have been like, wait, what? A children's author? No, I have never written for children. This is the most exciting thing I've done for 2025 so far.
Now people can understand by hearing Beth why this is so exciting because Kenny's doing books that kids can wake up and say, if he can do a book, maybe I could do one too. Can you imagine if you had done a book when you were 11 or 10 or 6 or 12 or 15 even? I mean, just
I actually did.
did you
I
really?
book in the third grade called What It's Like to Be a Penny. And it was entered into a contest and it won the state level. And I went on to the national level and I ranked in the top 10, What It's Like to Be a Penny. And it was about the journey of a penny in different people's pockets. And it was on the ground and somebody picked it up. And then
Hmm.
in third grade, I wrote that. So you just reminded me that.
We
Yeah.
were publishing it.
Where I even made the cover for it and it was like fake leather and oh my gosh, the whole project was so exciting. It was called the Young Authors Association or a Young Authors Club or
I
something like
guess this show has proven to be valuable in so many ways because just you bringing it up, I'm going to hound you once you finish the Seize the Day children's series. I'm going to hound you for that one. And by the way, I might be the sponsor of that one because you said a word penny, and I've used the word penny describing someone. I won't say a name because this is your show, but the quote is, "Excuse me, you just walked over a penny," and the person says, "Yeah, so it's not worth anything." And he goes, it's not the penny, it's the principle that you disrespect money or you disrespect what money can do.
Wow.
And it's so updating potentially that is respect. It is.
Yeah,
And
interesting.
and think about this. I mean, I don't want to go too much on a tangent here, but people that have need, a penny is nothing. Well, guess what? A million of them do add up to something. And if a million people gave a penny, it does make a difference.
Yes, it does. Yeah. Wow, I haven't thought about that book in so long. You just made me think of it when you're talking about
Well,
young
that's why I don't want to do like little 7 minute shows.
authors.
Because in the 6 minute, I was said, "Did you ever do a book about a penny?" And I went like, "I wish we had time to talk about it, but we have time."
Wow.
So let's talk about your series now. We're not gonna divulge everything, but we'll divulge that there is at least this book coming out this month,
Yes.
and that there are five in the first series coming out this year. You're going to Nashville to
Yes.
to pitch it to Goodreads, and if they pick it up, it would be in all the school systems. And given your penny triumph, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Sam and you are going to be in all the school systems as well.
But let's manifest that with not if and change that vocabulary to when they pick it up.
Yes, when they pick it up. Yeah, I guess the subconscious part of me is I don't want to lose you, but I have you as a friend, and this belongs in every school system. And by the way, good anyone that wants to go to Nashville, please connect with me. If you are a children's author or any type of indie author, it is a great opportunity. You'll meet Beth there as well. So talk about the other Seize the Day book titles.
So we have Seize the Day with a Smile, this children's version, that Seize the Day with Your Superpower, Seize the Day with Kindness, Seize the Day with Courage, and Seize the Day with Leadership. Those are the first five that I've written already. In the beginning of each book, I talk about Carpe Diem and what it means, but as it pertains to this theme. And then there's a story about a young boy or a young girl around 12, 13 years old, and how that idea of seize the day impacts their life, and then the ripple effect with other lives. And so you the first book is really like the power of your smile, and waking up to that idea that you have no idea the people that you smile at, and then it causes something inside them which either changes them or inspires them to call an old friend or reach out to a family member they haven't talked to, and then that family member gets inspired with the smile that came through the phone call, or and then takes it to the next level and the next level and the next level. And it's such it's a beautiful story about the power of your smile, and then you realizing that we all have a superpower. In book two is your superpower is your smile, is kindness, is being an acute listener, being present in your life and the lives of others, and honing into that. What is your superpower? How do you use your superpower to seize the day, to make an impact? And then it goes on from there. But all the characters are about the same age. And I think there's parts of the characters and parts of the stories that reflect and mirror things that happen in my own life. So that's such a joy. And Sam and I have had such a great time working with these illustrations. And there's little secrets in the pages that if you're paying attention when you read it, you're going to pick up and go, oh, I saw that thing. And then I'm going to see it over here. And then you might see it in another book. And that's been so much fun for us because the meaning behind it all goes back to seize the day with a smile.
You are doing at the highest level what perfect publishing wants a book to do, which is a business card, a message, an impactful way of someone having their life changed. And I I think this quote belongs in the show probably as much as any show I've ever done. It is Charlie Tremendous Jones. He says, the difference between where you are today and where you'll be 5 years from now are the people you meet and the books you read. And you
Mm.
have a book about the importance of parenting your mom. You have a book about your attitude, how to play big, how to embrace the journey of life. And then you have the children's series. And then I will be remiss, any of you who are super smilers that seize the day, you can simply be at an event that Beth is at, and please make sure you say, I'm coming to meet you so I can be in your book called Keep Smiling, Seize the Day.
Yes.
This is 365 people celebrating. Look, it says seize the birthday. So when you
Yep.
turn the book, you actually see the different people. And if we have a little time at the end of the show, I may flip through some pages of some of the people you have honored for what they do to seize the day, and more importantly, to have the positive attitude.
Yes, that would be so great.
All right. Well, we'll plan on that for the last couple minutes, and we have, of course, the rapid fire. So,
Oh boy.
yes, of course. So, um, what's your big goal for this year?
Well, there's multiple goals. The biggest goal is I want to reach 1 million souls with my message of Carpe Diem. Seize the day with a smile. Um, in podcasts, in getting on stage and speaking, and 1 million people reading my books, whether you are in fourth grade or you are in your 80s, 90s, everyone in between. It's never too young and you're never too old to start seizing the day. That is my biggest goal. 1 million souls.
Well, because you've inspired me so much, I'm going to manifest some additional things that I would like to help you get those accomplishments or those realizations. Number one, a Seize the Day podcast. Number two, a Seize the Day event. And number three, something I want to help you with, like right out of the gate sometime this year, whenever you're ready for it, is a Seize the Dayathon.
Oh yeah, the Seize the Day fun. I like it.
You did a smileathon and your talks were just brilliant. And of course, we have 96 segments. I feel sorry for my team; they're in content overload. But our goal is before the authorathon, which you are going to be a champion of. We picked 10 people that are champion. They're the leaders of 9 other authors, so it adds up to 100 authors. They share who they are as an author for a minute or two, and then they share as many books as they can in a 9-minute total period. And the idea is to have a complete impact in each of the authors' lives by having 99 of them buy the book on Amazon, make Jeff Bezos just a little bit more abundant, and then to do a review. And the reviews can be done daily, but that in 100 days, you'll have 100 reviews done. And everyone has time to take 15 minutes to read a book just to get a sense of it. I mean, if you get a gold nugget out of a book in 15 minutes, reading the rest of the book is a bonus and gravy.
Yeah.
But I do want to actually show some of the people that you have met and that you put in this book. We are going to go super fast with this though, because it would take forever to go through 365 pages. So I'll just say that these are all people that Beth approved that have done really beautiful things to create smiles, but they are all seize the day people. I mean, this guy, Coach Ken Carter from the movie Coach Carter. I mean, that's,
Yep.
and we'll just keep skipping along real quickly. But I mean, these are some really cool people. And if you would like to be in Best Book, then please make sure you give us a smile and when you're going to be at the event so we can capture you. And if you have a book, by all means, bring your book with you because we do embrace the fact that your book is part of an extension of your legacy, your message, and who you want to impact. So
Yes.
pretty cool.
Yes, very cool.
Are there any questions or anything we left out of this show at this point? Because if we're heading to wrap up kind of soon, I would want to make sure that you feel like pin drop, like a mic drop kind of thing. We did it.
I have a question for you,
Yes.
Riley. When you wake up in the morning, what is the first thing that you do that sets the tone to seize your day?
I usually grab one of my yellow pads and I don't know why I do this, but I do A through Z and anything that comes to mind, I put them in those particular letters and then I rank them as to what would cause the day to be seized the best.
Wow. So that's 26 things.
I don't necessarily always get to 26, but it gives me it branches me into thinking about Z's and X's that I don't
I was
know.
gonna say X, like,
Yeah, it's not as common, but it's the person and it's the project and it's people that I can touch. And then Dr. Greg Reed gave me something that he calls the iPhone Rolodex. You just go to your directory and you flip it as hard as you can. You might do 2 flips, 3 flips, and whoever you land on, you do about 10 or 15 people just saying, "I hope you have a blessed day." And
oh, that's rich. I love that. I'm glad I asked you that question. I'm going to steal that one.
you do. And by the way, it's never stealing when you're making a better difference in the world.
That's true. I'm going to borrow it for the higher good.
Yes,
And
exactly.
yes, and I have a quote I heard in one of your interviews with Buck.
Buck Stallion.
Buck Stallion. Oh my gosh. And I am going to use this, and I'm going to have to, you'll have to connect me so I can ask his permission. But he said something that rang true for me. It said, you don't stay young listening to old shit. And the reason that rung true for me, because I always talk about we have these self-limiting beliefs, these thoughts that come into our minds where, oh, you're too old, you're too young, you're too fat, you're too, well, you're not educated, whatever. These dumb things that we say to ourselves or think about ourselves, it's old shit. And you're not gonna seize the day. You're not gonna rise above if you're still listening to that old stuff.
Yeah, you didn't say two of them that I feel like are said at a higher level. It's I don't have enough money, I don't have enough time. And
Yes, resources and time. Yeah.
it is important because in my 10th book about going to going to experience 100 countries, Beth, I didn't have anything but a credit card. And I decided at $2,500 or $5,000 on my credit card a year, I was going to see the world. And
Ooh,
the
okay.
more I saw the world, the bigger the credit card amount got to be. And it finally got to $25,000, but it wasn't an overnight thing. But every time I came back, I had a bigger mind, a bigger vision, and a bigger play, and the income came with it. And you can't change your income unless you get uncomfortable or you change your experiences of who is playing bigger. And you cruise, you're cruising with people that are typically 20, 30 years older than you that say, you do this made me a millionaire. I mean, that's you can't get to these people.
Right, those are the nuggets. Yeah, absolutely. That's a really cool thing to do.
Yeah, so doing books, I think is like this right here. My friend Ed Caldwell came up with that. He had a beautiful vocabulary. I said, the way you use your vocabulary, it changes how your world is, and how powerful your world is. And we just came up with something as simple as word power, world power, and we made it a deck of cards. And the reason I'm showing you this, and by the way, it's not this specific word of the day, but with Beth's seize the day, I wanted to make a seize the day deck of cards because if you have 52 seize the day people,
Hmm.
that's playing big, 52. And you
Yeah.
make cards and they all have a different like nugget of how they seize the day. Because you just asked me a question. And by the way, I have 2 feet of these because I believe you cannot remember everything. I think it gets lost in here. So I actually have to physically write the A to Z every day. And it reminds me of Ed. Ed was the one who says, I know you do A to Z. And it's because I that's 26 things I could possibly think about.
So those are like a to-do list. These are people, and so I say that that would be your to-be list. Who do I need to be to impact these A through Z people? That's
Yeah, and it is two sides, Beth. One is the people that I care about or that I'm out of integrity with or that I need to be integrity with, meaning I've made a promise and I either am doing it or I didn't do it and I have to do it because I want to do it. And the other side is the project that is either associated with them or not. It doesn't matter, but it's another A to Z because projects get you they get you a feeling of completion, and a feeling of completion makes you feel whole.
right. And just switching that vocabulary to I have to I get to. I get to because I
Yes.
am Dr.
Thank you.
Smiley Roshan. I get to have these experiences with these people. I get to help them create impact by my own way of creating impact. That's a just different way to word it.
It is the right way to word it. It is the right way to word it. And normally I catch myself where I hear other people and I do exactly what you said. No, you don't have to do, because people say, do I have to hold the card when I smile? And I say, no, you don't have to.
Too.
You get to, but more importantly, if you don't, you won't be in the Keep Smiling book.
I
I
mean,
want to,
free choice, free choice.
I want to share something with you that I was going to share about a half hour ago is that when I say, would you like to be in the Smile book? And someone says, can you get back to me in a couple hours? There is no couple hours later because this was 1 second. Well, it wasn't 1 second, it's 5 seconds. It doesn't, how fast I've taken those shots. It's ridiculously fast. And,
It's ridiculous.
and
Yeah.
I always say to people, like, if I have like a couple $1,000, can you do it right now? And they're like, yeah, let's do it. Right. So that's the mentality of, are you doing things because there's an opportunity you don't know about, or are you pushing opportunities away that you don't know about and you don't know that they could be really big?
Which goes back to yes, saying yes. Saying yes are the right opportunities. And if it feels good, if it feels good, it's right. If it feels icky, you're not aligned with your truth.
And by the way, for the no part, which I was going to say earlier, but it didn't feel right at that point, a no is not is not being exercised as a creative yes. Meaning, if I said yes, but it's taking time away from me, how could that time be leveraged correctly with someone that actually does that? For instance, you know as well as I do, if I said, Beth, if I connect you with this person, they're going to help you get that event done, or they're going to help with the Smileathon. You know, the only reason the Smileathon made it is roughly 20 people or 30 people. They said, you need help? And I said, I really need someone at your level or higher that believes in smiles. And they said,
Mhm.
I got the perfect person. So it up leveled the event so much.
Yeah.
And talk about a yes that was scary. I didn't know how to fill 96 spots. I didn't have any idea. And as the months were creeping towards it, I was like, I'm in trouble. And that little question of them saying yes, me saying yes, I need help. Yes, I need help. Yes, I need help.
That was the difference for you because you allowed yourself to be vulnerable and open.
Yep.
Uh, because when you say, I'm in trouble, uh-oh, what's going to happen here? You close yourself off from the inspired thought as opposed to, I am so grateful I have these amazing people in my life that have come in for various different reasons. I am so grateful for them. And now I can leverage our relationship to let more things come into me, more opportunities, more people that are up leveling. All these things are invited into your life when you are grateful for that.
You'll be very proud of me because instead of me saying I must be in trouble or I get to be in trouble.
No, you said it, I am. I'm in trouble, but yeah. But I'm so grateful I'm in trouble because this is going to open up so many more opportunities for me to grow. I'm going to grow from this.
Well, as a problem solver, I quickly diverted, even though that was said to scare me. I quickly diverted to, well, what would I? It's an integrity thing. How am I going to make sure that I'm being powerful to get out of this situation? And so it's not about biting off more than you can chew, but now I have the authorthon, the baldathon.
Oh, I don't think I'm invited to that one.
You just have a situation that you need to take
Situation.
care of. October 3rd is massive. That's going to be the biggest thing I've ever done in my life because the Smileathon was the biggest. I remember I called you before and I said, this is the biggest thing I've ever done. It was.
Yeah.
I mean, having 96 different segments filled with people pouring their heart as to the power of a smile. And by the way, that compilation is coming out like around December. It's called The Power of a Smile. The one October 3rd is the International Smile. And that book is going to be called, and by the way, this is me just coming up with stuff because of having conversations with people like you, seize a day. It's A Smile Will Bring the World Together. And
Wow.
it will.
At
And
a very important time.
well, you remember when you said Carpe Diem the first time, Beth? You
Mhm.
remember what I said almost within a second later, which was, that's your book or that's your keynote. That has to
Did
be.
say that. Yeah.
Because I heard it hit me so hard that that was the easiest thing I could ever market, ever.
Yeah. I was thinking about it this morning that where I've come in the last 5, 6 months,
Yeah.
where this seems so obvious to me now. Of course, you're Carpe Diem. This is your brand. This is who you are. This is who I've been for 46 years. I've been Carpe Diem. So, yeah, since the day I was born, I'm 46. But this has been me. Like this is embedded in my DNA. And there was a reason I became a Latin scholar in high school. I was supposed to know what it meant, but I didn't know what it meant until I went through this growth challenge for myself. Just even the last year, right? It's like I tell my clients, you're going to need a telescope to recognize yourself. And it's the absolute truth. I need a telescope to go, who was that girl last year? Oh, that was a girl who was sitting in a wet bathing suit in a parking lot talking to Les Brown like we go back to first grade or something, like we were instantly friends on such a deep level that I look back at that conversation, that parking space, what I was feeling in that moment going, my life is just about to change right now.
Amen. Amen. And I
Yeah.
remember I'd call you sometimes after the day after because we went really a lot of action pieces. And I'd say, how you feeling? You go, fire hose. And I was like, thank you for not saying that in Latin. Because I wouldn't have known what the Latin is for fire
I
hose.
don't know what it is either, but yeah, those fire hose moments where you wake up and it's like bing, 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 everything's happening. And it's like, oh, this is so fun because this is the truth. Abundance is on the same frequency as overwhelm.
Mm,
And understanding that it's all part of the pie, that you're feeling overwhelmed, but it's how you manage the overwhelm and that you wouldn't be given anything more than you can't handle. And
right.
with that comes abundance and accept both equally with gratitude.
I have a seize the day quote for you.
Oh, I can't wait.
Action is the antidote to anxiety.
Ooh.
Can't
Can
say
I
that's,
put that
I
in
wish
my book?
you can put in your book. I borrowed it and just put perfect publishing underneath. I didn't know. I don't. If there is a person who said it, I'll send it to you. But I think that was anonymous, if I recall.
Okay. Is the anecdote to anxiety?
Anxiety, yes.
I might even throw that in my speech this week.
Oh, actually, I have the person to give credit to. I found.
Okay.
Here we go. It is Gretchen. Is it Rubens? Yes, Rubens.
Don't make me put my glasses on.
Okay, it's in small print.
Oh,
I'll send it to you later. Action is the antidote to anxiety. Gretchen Rubins, Rubins. She
okay. So here's a goosebump thing with that. I wanted to be named Gretchen. I think that was the alternative name my parents were going to name me. I loved the name Gretchen. Um, and her last name is Rubens. And my last name, Robins, is a made-up name. It was my stage name that I took legally 10 years ago.
So if you can change your name one more time to Gretchen Rubins, this is your
Gretchen Rubens. We'd be like,
your quote.
I
All
got
right.
you, sister.
All right. So we get to do rapid fire right now. We don't have
Oh
to.
boy.
We get to.
Yay.
All right, here we go.
All right, I'm ready.
So I have 5 questions for you minimally. And the idea is not so much to expand on it, but to just give the answer with the smallest explanation if you're going to give one. And this is so we have a wrap of the show with people understanding your programming. My hypothesis back in the day was some 600 shows ago was if someone's favorite book is this, then if I read this, I'll be a little more like them. Okay.
Ooh, okay.
That's the idea of the programming here. All
All
right.
right.
So a book that changed your life.
A book that changed my life. Um, I'm going to go with a recent one, Jen Cisneros' You Are a Badass, her whole series. But I think the main one that I really want to throw in there is The Dash.
Nice. And do you remember is that the one specifically by her? Or is that
No, The Dash is a different book. It's actually a poem, and I forget the author's name. It was years ago. It's been rewritten, but
well,
it's
you can
about,
do a comment on the show. Just put that little link there. Put that little dash, what the dash is.
okay, will do.
All right. A movie that inspires you.
I have two, G.I. Jane and The Gift.
Phenomenal gift. I love the gift. And G.I. Jane, you realize how close she was that she could have been part of the Baldathon. So
I know, right?
you can
Yeah.
do this. A song that gets you going.
Again, I have three. Christina Aguilera, Stronger. I did that through my karate days. Rage of Glass, Pink, and September, Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Nice variety there.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say Rage Against the Machine, but you said Rage.
Raise your glass, raise your glass. That's my favorite song.
That is a good celebration song for sure.
Yeah.
Who's your hero?
Maya Angelou.
Who would you like to meet you haven't met?
Maya Angelou.
I thought you'd say it twice. Um, Seize the day. Who's someone that you think embraces that at the highest level?
At the highest level, ooh, I'm gonna say Dr. Ken Roshan.
Really, I know that person.
Yeah. I really believe that about you. You know, we talk about, we joke about we're going to play big, and you put the you do the work, and I see you. I mean, we've known each other half a year, almost, maybe a little more, and we're both growing, and
Yeah.
I see you going, "Phew," and it's because you seize the day, but you seize the day with love. You know, you really pour so much love on and authenticity um and you just give everybody so much of yourself, and it's not it's just because you believe in people so much, and you're driven by a higher power, you're driven by a higher purpose, and I think it's beautiful. So
Well,
you just won the Seize the Day award today.
I wasn't expecting that, but thank you. And by the way, at your event, that is something that is award worthy. When you actually acknowledge people that are moving the dial in the world because they're seizing the day, not just one day, but every day.
Every day, every day.
What's a quote you live by? I have a feeling I know.
But it is Carpe Diem, but Mae West. I just came across this. You only live once, and if you do it right, once is all you need. Or once is enough, I think is how she said it.
That is great.
I love that. It's part of the whole Carpe Diem. You only live once that we know of. Um, yeah, if you do it right, it's all you need.
In your seize the day bonus question,
Mm.
what is the thing that you never thought you would have or be able to say, but because of your journey you're doing, you see it now?
I see, I get to actually say I am a speaker, author, and life coach. Three things I used to talk about I was going to do, be, have.
Mm-hmm.
And the epitome of that is that I'm a children's author. Never saw that coming.
Yeah. So the thing about those three words is they all have a non-impressive context to them too. And I want to say, when you use them, you're using them with pride because you've actually done them. And someone can say they're a speaker and they don't get paid and they don't speak often. But starting with the authorship, you didn't do one book. You have committed to, you have like nine in the next 2 months. You have nine books, something like that.
Yeah.
To include Dose of Hope. Dose of Hope is about picking people that bring hope to the world, truly are the inspiring message, and live that message so high that it could be confused as their number one message.
Mm.
Okay. So you've done that and you've done all these books. That's not an author, kind of like an author. That's an author. And then speaker, every single week, it seems like I see you. I know it's not quite that often, but it seems like you're on a big stage with a lot of people in front of you. And whether you have sponsored or whether you're being paid or whether you're donating your time to help your book campaign, you are living it.
Living it. Yeah.
Most important one to me is life coach, because there are a lot of coaches that I'll say they're challenged financially to pay the bills and have a living, and you were that before you were the other two, which means you got results. And when you decided to be an author, it was your life coaching career that allowed you that ability.
Yeah.
So I'm acknowledging you for not just saying some words, that you are actually a champion in those three titles, just like you're a champion as, and we didn't even talk about pickleball, but there's a story there. And so why don't we wrap how those three, ironically, have the same context to why you champion? Is it almost every game? I mean, it seems like you're a champion almost every single game you play.
Every game, no. My opponents will be,
Like,
wait a minute. The time I burned you yesterday, no.
well, I'm talking about the competitions. It seems like.
Competitions, yeah, you play big, you play to win. Um, there's so many things I could say about pickleball. I mean, pickleball is my fitness, it's my social, it's my outlet. It's a place where you can't think about anything else but a ball coming at you at 100 miles per hour. Um, I talk about the power of your imagination. And when I go to these tournaments lately, I look at the podium where the gold medal winners stand.
Mhm.
And if I can catch sight of it when I'm in the final match, the gold medal match, if I can walk by it on my way to the court or I see myself with the medal on, and and then have a huge smile on my face with this weird knowing that I'll be there in about 20 minutes, just that feeling of, there's a whisper, you are a champion, play like one. And all of us are champions. We're champions of our own lives and our own destiny, and seizing the opportunities that are in front of you. And that's all part of it. Seizing the moments of your life that make you smile, that make you a champion. And that's what I take into pickleball. You are a champion. Play like one.
If we were to take this 1 hour and 35, 40 minute show and just get it down to 1 minute, I think you would say something like, if there's one thing you do in life is detassel corn. I mean, it seems like that has led you to everything.
It comes back to the old corny tassel.
That was corny. I mean, that was seriously. I I do have something I wanted to say, and the corny thing unfortunately derailed me from saying, the serious thing. Yeah, the serious thing. This is my parting words. But before I say the parting words, um, how do people reach you? How do they connect with you? How do they celebrate you? How do they get involved in these book opportunities?
Well, the best ways to find me right now is on Instagram. which is at Balanced Robin. That's BALANCEDROBIN. You are going to see 2 or 3 videos of me every day. I'm going to be coming into your phone every day. You're going to be just blown away every morning. That's how you're going to start your day. There's Beth Robins, and she's got another Carpe Diem message for me, but it's from my heart. It's from my heart to you. And in my Instagram is all the ways to find me. Linktree, my website, which is balancedlifeproductions.com. And you can find me on Facebook at Beth Robins. And it's one bee. So I always say it's one bee, two birds. So it's a plural Robins. That's how you find me. I also have a phone number that I had written down and it's somewhere. It's 760-606 4846. And
And
that number will take you to my system where you can say, hey, Beth, I saw you here. I saw you there. I want to see you over there.
and as Beth would probably say in a future show, carpe numero, seize
Perfect.
seize the number.
He's the number. Oh, that's a good one. I like it.
So my ending message is a thanks to you because I learned something that was very valuable to me. It was Jim Lutz, right?
Lutz,
Jim,
Lutez.
Jim Lutz mastermind. He said something near the end of the mastermind. I was so glad that I was there to hear it. People step out and they meet these amazing people. They're networking, but he said, when you see somebody with a great shirt and you say, "Hey, nice shirt," you've done nothing to connect with the person because the shirt can't speak. And so I want to say, be aware that when you're in masterminds, you learn things that change how you talk, how you think, and how you can actually become the person you want to be. And so Beth is wearing a shirt that I really like. It's one I wear almost, if not once a week, sometimes twice a week. I got 7 different colors, and
Wow.
it says whoever smiles first wins. But I would not say great shirt or nice shirt or I love your shirt. You would say, Beth, you have fantastic taste in shirts. And she owns the fact that she picked that shirt, she bought that shirt, she's wearing that shirt, and she can respond because the shirt can't. That's number one. Number two, I don't know if this was at Jim's, but it was at a different mastermind possibly. And it was, you don't say, I'm proud of you. You say, you should be proud. And it's a big distinction because you should be proud as acknowledging that they deserve to be at the highest level. And so, Beth, you should be proud.
Thank you. So you should be proud. I'm
And
proud to know you. I'm proud to honor. I'm proud and honored to be hitching my wagon to yours because it's kind of like when you ride a rocket and there's a rocket boosters. I want to be one of the boosters or the rocket or I don't know. We're going to space.
well, the most cautious words you want to say around Beth and myself are, I want to play big. We'll take it serious. All right. You've heard the Dr. Smiley Show and the amazing Beth Robins and the example of what you can do when you use the right language, the right way of talking to yourself, because you deserve to be the greatness that you want to be. So we'll see you at the next time. When you hear the show, share it, but don't say no. Say yes to dialing, connecting. I promise it will change your life. Dr. Smiley, have a great day.